So welcome, good morning guys. My name is Yogesh Singh. I work at Haptech as iOS architect. That means I basically take care of our iOS app. First thing I would like to know, like how many of you have used Haptech or heard about Haptech or installed and uninstalled? So you like you must be known to what's Haptech doing and what basically we are trying to achieve over here. So first, the topic for today is building delightful conversations. And this is a very vast topic, and it is kind of like the most trending topic of like last year or something like that. So first I would like to begin with what in general is like, what do conversation interfaces mean? So basically, if we like step back and have kind of a small preamble thing, the first interface that was developed for computer interactions was this command line, which was like used by like professional guys who knew what all commands are to be input, who knew what is the expected output, and like the guys who had a fair, decent working knowledge of the interface before they could like do start working with some like provide some productive work out of it. It was not generally very useful for a like common folk like a school teacher or like your mother in house to like easily use a command line interface. So like as tech evolved, as time progressed, and like we had this very like GUI interfaces came along. Basically, it's a graphical user interface. Everyone is aware about it, and like it's basically like you have pointers, you have clicks, you have a graphical interface. Any person, it's very like from what was being offered in a command line interface. Like this was a very breakthrough invention sort of thing, wherein it was at this point when computers in general was very accessible to like non-techie people, and that's where the like it was kind of an inflection point wherein the usage and the productivity and the like the amount of work that can be done via using computers and tech in general like expanded a lot. And we are in a very interesting time. I would say like the new interfaces that are coming around now are like conversational interfaces, and they are a mix of both your traditional GUI and your the older terminal CLI based interfaces. In that sort, like you still have your text still lingering around, and like the interaction mode with your computer is via like, text messages, but you still have a like a decent GUI available to you. The messages, the information that can be presented is not just anymore like simple text based. You can have graphs, you can have like images, you can have GIFs, you can have various sort of like information dispersal systems that a user, a tech user and non-tech user can easily understand, comprehend, and do some useful thing with it. So this is an example of Slack. Slack. I'm sure like most of you must be using Slack or aware of Slack. So Slack has a lot of like inbuilt bots and conversational interfaces available, made available to you, where you can create bots for something like if you're, for example, you are a Taco Bell company, then like you can create a Taco Bell app, and users can just go to talk to a Taco Bell app and like order something. And like if you're Domino's, then you can order pizza by just like sending some like, emojis nowadays. And like if all things are correct, like if your user persona is created that you always order large margarita, then if you just send an emoji, then they know, okay, this guy wants a pizza, let's deliver it to him. So it's kind of a very interesting use case that is coming around these days. So one thing that I would like to like, put it out is the conversational interfaces don't only mean bots. A conversational interface can be a lot more than only a bot only application. So by like, what I mean by that is a conversational interface doesn't need to be supported or run by only a chatbot which is powered by AI or something, which like is just a machine replying to your user queries. It can be human augmented as well. You can have scenarios wherein like the technology is not there yet. Like a bot can understand each and every natural language phrase that a human person can like send in and perform some actions over it. So you can have a human augmented scenario over there when if the bot is unable to handle a user's query, the human takes over and like, gets the task to completion. So like all bots, like all chatbots are conversational interfaces, but not all conversational interfaces are bot based. So like nowadays, these apps are all around. Like messaging apps are all around. They are the like, new tech in town, and all the focus is around these things. We have voice-based apps, which are like voice-based apps are like more beautiful manifestation of what a conversational interface is, wherein I'm like a user of a voice-based app like Siri, Amazon Alexa, or something can like talk in a natural language, and the bot can understand what is being asked to perform, and it can deliver upon it. So like it's a very interesting time to be in and working on these type of technologies. So this is a small graph that I have found. So in the past 4 years, the messaging apps have taken over all the social networking apps. The retention and the user base of the messaging apps combined is a lot more than the your traditional social networks like Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, whatever. So what that like that what's a very strong point forward is key users tend to like all kind of users, they tend to like be more personalized and be more comfortable with the conversational interface. They are like imagine a Facebook app today. Like it has a lot of options, it has a lot of buttons, it has a lot of menus. Like, and if you tap on one thing, it is again a deep hierarchy on its own. So like it takes a decent amount of time for a naive user to understand. Okay, how can I do something with this kind of interface? But consider this standard like conversational interface. It's just you sending messages to something out there, some business or somebody, and I'm like that's it. I'm like you don't need to go, you don't need to be aware of like any buttons or any hidden tricks or any settings or you don't need to be aware of that. And suppose I'm like if you're talking to a company, say you're talking to a customer support company and you want to talk to different departments of the company, you don't have to know yes, this department is classified is under this header. Like the traditional sitemaps which we have on the websites available. If you want to apply for one thing, you go over here. If you want to apply for another thing, you want that particular link. You don't need to. A user doesn't needs to understand. Okay, this is where I'll get my job done. He just has to come on an interface, type in his message, type in his request, and some bot or some human or something will take that into account and perform some like usable task on that thing. So that's why I'm like it's very I'm like established fact that like messaging interfaces are very user friendly and users tend to be like retained for using that interface. So this is the same point that I was talking about. And like conversation interfaces feels like very personal for you. Like if you have a Facebook or not Facebook. So imagine you have a WhatsApp app. So the interface for the initial when you install the WhatsApp or when you install any other messaging app, the initial interface when you have not like just starting out, the UI for and the interface for all the users is almost similar. But as then when you start having more conversations, you start pinging your friends, it becomes very personalized and customized to you. And like your friend will have a very different interface, very different layout of the screen available to him than which is available to you. So that's like a user feels that this app is made for me, it is curated for me, and that evokes like a very like that it evokes loyalty out of the user, so that he can like tend to come back and again and use the app and feel comfortable over here to do some work. So I'm like it's very small thing. I'm like just using text thing, you feel so comfortable by using app. But if you think about it, the language is the most powerful and unique thing that it can be provided in an interface. And just think about in the dimensions wherein like you have local language support as well. Like a user who is comfortable talking in some local language will be very comfortable using your app than a traditional GUI-based app which has buttons and all these things which are not very like, user-friendly. So like, we think in that perspective, language is a very powerful tool which you can utilize to allow users to do a lot more with your app. So messaging interfaces are also like more appropriate for a lot of interactions. So basically, all the apps, all companies that are out there, they have some kind of onboarding flows for your app. Like this is what the major flow. This was the main core USP of the app. Imagine that interface to be built in a messaging format. I'm like a user comes in, you ask a user ask, I'm like, what is your app is about? What is your core USP that you are providing? And you can just tell him, okay, this is my core USP. You can do this by just simply sending a text message to me, and like it is a very cool thing, and it is like very user friendly to understand in that sort of sense. You don't have to like understand what all these small icons, small images that mean to you. You just have to understand language that is written, which can be in your like in your native language, and it's very easy for a user to comprehend and understand and get something done while using that. And there's this trend also, like the App Store has been around for like 9, 10 years, and users have like I'm sure like most of us don't install apps each and every day, and like a few techies would do it to just check out the app. But most the majority of user base doesn't installs the apps. Like they try out 1 or 2 apps based on what in a month or two. But like most users don't have a tendency to use and like install any apps that other than they which know it. And like if you can provide your service, you are providing your service as a standalone app, or if you're providing a service inside WhatsApp, then WhatsApp-based interface would have a lot more reach and a lot more usability for the user than in making a standalone app which has like some things you provide. A user would install it, delete it. He can do whatever he wants. So there's this another concept of why conversational interfaces are very good for users. Imagine using a Flipkart. So Flipkart has this thousands and thousands of menus available to you. You can just keep on scrolling endlessly. For if you type in a watch, you can get lots of different watch types and all things. And like there's no end to the amount of browsing that you need to do. But if you have a conversational interface over there, you just ask a person. I mean, like sometimes I mean, like humans have both the tendencies. Sometimes you just want to sit back and relax and like lazily scroll and browse around all the content, or sometimes you just want to get your task done with like partial attention to it, and like you just and send a message to someone, let somebody do something for you, and you just make the payment and just move on. That's a very genuine use case which a lot of people face. So conversational interfaces come in that point of view point, and they help you get the task done. So conversational commerce is basically about delivering convenience, personalization on a chat-based interface. And I'm not saying the like the chat-based interface are the like the are going to completely erode out the GUI applications out there, but you can have a very good interface wherein you use a hybrid approach using conversational. And I would like to showcase how we utilize the messaging interface, the GUI, the traditional GUI interfaces to get like a very like non-trivial task for user done. So this is a small demo that I just created last night. Okay, so this is a haptic app. So a user comes in, suppose he wants to book a flight. So he goes in there, he like, requests for a flight. He saw an offer for a flight on Movie using MobiQuick, and he has some cashback offers. So you would like, okay, yeah, please go ahead and book a flight for me. And this is your chatbot coming in and like giving you replies, like what all things you can do. So if you can see, uh, so after you send a message, the bot immediately acknowledged your input request. Okay, this guy wants to book a flight. And this if you see the domain, this domain is in flights. What we call is internally as flights. It's kind of a domain wherein the process running over here is like specialized for handling flight domain tasks. So a user coming in telling for a flight is very easy for any person, for a bot to understand and go ahead with it. So this you just get a very acknowledgement kind of message. Okay, you want to proceed with flight bookings? I can surely help you. And then we send out a form. So this is what we internally call as a chat form. This chat form tradition like helps us to get a lot of different inputs from the user. Booking a flight requires these things to be like input so that something useful can be done. So as you can see, you have like departure city, arrival city, departure date, and all these have like different interfaces so that the user being a conversational interface doesn't mean the user has to go in and go type. And that is not a very user friendly way. A good design is one wherein which saves time of the user. If you don't have that, like if you are not saving time, then your design, like you are using conversational interface or GUI, like it's not making any sense. So a good design saves time. So basically, you have to have a kind of hybrid approach over there. So okay, so I come in and like I'm selecting my departure city. Now I come. So the guy has selected a flight from Mumbai to Delhi, and that was the date picker, which we call as a date picker. You want to select like what kind of date you want, and it has like kind of custom logic wherein and like you want to prevent the user from selecting previous dates. You want to select if you are selecting a return flight, then your the start date of the start date and the end date should be like in a logical limit. It should not be your return flight is before the start date. So those kind of things need to be taken care of in your like, date picker interface. So when you get that input from the user and the other fields are kind of like optional. And like if he wants to book a return flight, then he can do it. If he wants like booking for like more than one adult, he can do that. He can mention it whether he has some child or something or not. And when that's done, he can go forward and just tap on send and the message gets sent. The bot, as you can see, the typing indicator has started. That means the bot has acknowledged a user input and he has come back with a message. Keep okay, this is you want to book flight from Mumbai to Bangalore on 28th August or one other. I'll need to do some processing. I need to hit some data. I need to retrieve data from our partners and like present that multiple options that are available to you back. So this is the and like if this was a GUI based, you would have traditionally all clear trips or make my trips would have a spin or something or like a nice motion or animation going around here. But over here, you can like a user does not need to pay like full attention while using your app. You send the bot send an acknowledgement message, and user can like go on and like if he's watching a movie, he can continue doing that. And he'll basically know if something new happens, and he'll get a new message coming in, and then with a very partial attention to the task available, he can get the task done, which is like which won't be easily possible in a GUI interface. So okay, so now the user, like we say the cheapest option, the flight fares start from 2071. That's is the least, the cheapest flight that you can book on. And we give a user a few options. This is what we call as quick replies. This is like a kind of craze in town right now. And you must have seen a lot of apps doing this. Inbox has been doing this for like forever now. So these are a user gets a multiple suggestions, and with quick replies, it helps us to set expectations. What is the next input we are expecting from the user? Like if he just goes in over here and types something, okay, now flight booking is done, or book me a cab or something, then that expectation that the flow of the chat breaks over there. And like it will, like the bot would be very confused at this state what the user is asking. So with this quick reply, we set a expectation for the user. What are your preferences for the flight booking that you want to do? I mean, like you want a time-based approach. I mean, like wherein the time slot in which your flight is being booked is like critical, or you want just go with the cheapest flight. And what you observe is most of the time it's like a user prefers having the cheapest flights. So and like a person takes that cheapest flights, and the flow continues forward. So okay, so now the bot is just acknowledging it and coming in with some like curated option for the user. So this is what we call a tab list interface. This is like a traditional list, what you can call on Android, but we call it tab list. Okay. So over here, a user is being provided a lot of information in the GUI interface. I'm like, just imagine if this was, I'm like, if you are hell bent on doing no conversation, only conversation, providing all this information in a chat format would be very unfriendly for the user to read it, understand what that means. If you have this nice GUI view and like provide the image, you have the Indigo, and like, you haven't mentioned Indigo over here, but you understand that that's Indigo, so this must be an Indigo flight. You use the traditional GUI elements that are available to you, and you create this sort of list which is sent to the user. The user can like perform more tasks over here by tapping on the I button, which is like traditional icon for like giving more information about that. When he taps on that I am, like he can go into deep hierarchy over which exists over there. He can get to know more details about the Indigo flight, about the Vistara flight, something like that. So he can do a lot of things over here, or he can, if he likes the first option, which like as he suggested, I want to book the cheapest flight. The cheapest one he can say is 207. You can just select that and move ahead with the booking. So, okay, so like you also get again you're getting some suggestions game like you want to show all flights and like you want to see all the other options or you want to see like check out something else over here. So over here, I tapped on the I button, and you just get an interface where you get more information about the first flight, the SpiceJet flight that was available to you. So very limited amount of data available over here. But you can imagine flows where like you can have images over here, you can have like a lot of checkout items over here, you can have a cart interface over here where the user can add items to a cart and like purchase something and go back to the messaging interface. So over here the user comes in, he checks out what items are available to you. He has some nice icons. You can add some gifts over here so that it's more kind of like trendy, cool for the like millennial audience. And then you can just you're done with it. You just tap and got it. You will be taken back to the original interface. So now I've seen the details of the flight that I wanted to book. Now I'm okay with it. So I want to continue with it, and I want to go ahead and make some purchase around it. So I go ahead and just tap on this on the continue button, and the continue button, the app to site generates this set of data that is required for the bot to understand and take the chat towards the completion of it. So as soon as you send it, I'm like bot acknowledge, and then I'm like in the background, I'm like you're not getting any spinners or HUDs over here spinning and telling you to wait, please wait, we're doing something that you would have on like, all the GUI based apps out there. You just send a message, can get then you can come back to this flow after like 2 hours, 2 days, 3 days, and you can just pick it up from here and continue with it. And depending if the flight prices are changed or something. So you just send the message and it has got the server has acknowledged it and it is like doing some processing over it, generating your like talking to the partners and getting some responses and like the traditional payment data that needs to be generated. You send that and that's it. So now we have confirmation key. Okay, so a user has
of a conversation, I mean, there are like different steps or checkpoints, like this happens first and this happens first and this. So is the smart enough to determine like this that has to happen now, or these options have been presented to the user?
So you wouldn't want like that needs to happen, but you wouldn't want your app, which is like the front end interface, to handle that kind of like intelligence over there. You would like to have that interface and that handling of sent to your backend. And the app's sole task is to like, present information in a very user-friendly interface, and whatever the flow. I mean, you can imagine this is very simple flow. There can be like various turns a user could have taken up. He could have like sent a message in there. He could have done anything else, and it would have taken a very different form and how it could have went around. So you wouldn't want your app to handle that. You want to what you will obviously want to handle it, but on the back end side, where when a user sends in like, okay, I don't want this flight, I don't want to go Bangalore, I want to go Chennai. So the bot needs to handle those interactions, and the app just, and like when the bot confirms, okay, now send a new form to him, the app is come in and like, they send that link.
So do you have something on the back end, like those agent engine or something, which
Yes,
actually
yes.
keeps the user on track to make sure that he goes to that particular conversion?
So a user can go through a various what you call as a different chat flows, and maybe I cannot say a lot more details, but I like we have something called as Mogambo, which helps you, which helps a bot designer that you would say to imagine different chat flows that can happen. This is the user input query. This is the he has input the departure city, arrival city. What all things can go in between. It's the job of the bot designer to understand what all chat flows can happen over here and like make it a complete go. It shouldn't be key. A user has sent something and the bot is just right out there. It cannot understand it and is without a reply.
You work on the actual.
Yeah, it is it. Krupal Modi.
Yeah. So that was the flights demo. Anybody else? Any questions? We haven't tried, but like we had a very nice demo in Bangalore wherein like, the flight bookings went under in like 3.5 to 4 minutes, which was very good. And like over here I saw, but like it takes a very less amount of time. Like 3.5 minutes is that's what it took. So the most crucial step is when the bot is waiting for the user to reply. And like the first thing that we input for the user coming in and telling him, "Ki, I want to book a flight." That is all good and nice. But the next step, the most heavy user input phase is over here, when the user has to fill in a decent amount of information. And this is just the flight flow, so it has only like 3 required fields. But you can imagine in some other flows, you will require a lot more details over here. So this is the most time-consuming piece. But like, so because it's like the bot is just waiting on the user to do this, there's not a lot you can do over here to solve this on being on a GUI or a chat interface. What else? Cool.
Anything else? Any features? I mean, doing this in iOS, because if you notice, other stocks on Android. iOS, the problem is the restrictions, right? What
Yeah,
are
I
the
have
problems?
accepted that way of life now.
So what are they? How do you go about it, and what do you do about it?
Sorry.
How do you go about it? And what do you do about it?
What?
The restriction. How do you compare to Android, and how do you try to make sure your life is easier?
So one restriction that we get around was like I wanted to plug into the MQTT talk that we had earlier. And
Yeah.
it's very easy to maintain a persistent MQTT connection on Android. The OS just allows you to be running indefinitely in the background. Now in Nougat or something, they have brought in some restrictions, but I'm like you can have like background like similar to cron jobs running indefinitely in the background. And what the plan, what a lot of like WhatsApp does is they have the XMPP the interface available over there, and it just keeps running in the background. That's why the WhatsApp has such a nice message like reliability in sending messages. On an iOS device, you cannot do that. I mean, you have a very limited time availability. But if you register as a VoIP app, then you can get like additional amount of time to run in the background. But that is also limited. And like it has a limit even if you're a VoIP app. So over here, and then it comes down to the notifications model over here. The GCM is like all Android engineers know how good GCM is working. So I don't tell anything about that. But like if you compare GCM and APNS promises 99.9% message delivery, and it actually delivers it. We have observed in our connections like experience. So what happens if we are not allowed to run our MQTT service in the background, but APNS delivers those messages to us. So and like we have something else available to offer.
Callback. Yeah.
And like in the previous talk, there was a very good concept around the QoS level of the messages that were being sent.
Manoj, there is.
So I would like to say, we also use MQTT. We also use Mosquito in our backend for interfaces, and basically we set a QoS level to us at least once. And what happens over there is, as Manoj already pointed out, you have a probability of getting like duplicate messages. So that kind of logic and like it has to be handled on your app side. Someone has to handle your duplicate, either your backend handles duplicate messages being received or app handles. And what happens, especially on the iOS app, is the push notifications. Even if your app is open, you get push notification delivered to you. And so imagine a scenario where you are getting a hello message from the backend. You get that message, and MQTT send you that message, and APNS is also sending you a message. So you need to have some kind of logic on your app side which like prevents showing up of duplicate messages. You don't want duplicate message coming up in your live stream. Scare of the users. So that's it. I have a bit more to speak upon. I have a second demo as well. Go ahead. So second demo is quite short, and it plugs into the nearby domain flow. So basically, I'll just let this run. So a user comes in, he wants to check out the near. So user comes in, he wants to check out the what all petrol pumps are available to me nearby this location, Microsoft Office location. He comes in, already if you had noticed on the inbox screen, a user, and we already had the user on the top left. You can see NCDX Limited, some office. We already have users location data available with us. So in chat flow, you can go and ask, okay, please give me your information. Your bot designer, the person who is making this bot needs to be aware that this information. I'm like for the chat flow, if you look at it in like isolation, for performing a task like finding nearby petrol pumps, you need a location data, but you don't look at it in isolation. You have your location data available to you from another source. So in the chat flow, the chat flow over here, you can imagine takes like different flows over here. If it's an iOS app, users don't get your location permissions every time. You don't have location permission, and he asks for doing a nearby task, then you'll have to explicitly ask for that nearby. Please give me some permissions for your location. But if you already have that, it's very dumb to go and again ask for that. Yeah. Yes. That's the beauty of the conversational interface, and that's the reason I'm like, you can have a very audacious interface wherein you don't have this domains and different classifications, and you directly come into a chat channel. I mean, the channel which is coming on the next link, you directly have it over here, and over here you can. That's a very audacious thought. Yeah, that's a this interface works well. I mean, if you do that interface when it's only a chat interface, you should possibly have performing multiple tasks. But in this layout, you can do multiple tasks simultaneously, and it's not like network dependent or like what is dependent. So okay, so we came in, and this is in the nearby domain. As you can see, this is the most requested task that a user can like frequently ask for us. And if you understand it as a bot designer, this is a nearby. So user can indicate it with the demonetization ATM as the top task that is running. So you have the ATM, petrol pump, e-Wi-Fi's, offers, and like, this is a traditional list. You can have a 10 item list, but that doesn't look very nice on a 4.5-inch screen. So you have a more button on which if you tap in, you are taken to a new interface, which I can show you. So okay, so I'm going in the staging. We have something called a staging, which is the version of the app. You went to nearby and you have like ATM, petrol pump, free Wi-Fi, all these stars, and you have something called as more. And in more, you have these all other options. And imagine just putting all these options over there. It is a very bloated tool. You don't want to do that. And these are like all like over there, you are only getting like ATM. Over here, you are like getting a more detailed text as well. And imagine this could be a different like food cup flow wherein there would be multiple restaurants. You could have like cuisine detailed information available over here. If you have this interface built out, it just comes down on your bot designer what kind of information he wants to provide it. So like designing a interface, you would want to keep it like very generic, very usable in multiple scenarios. You won't want to create your app based on your okay, we are not only supporting nearby cabs and movies. We only focusing doing all our layout, all our interfaces, like curated to that scenario. There are some cases wherein you need to curate, but in most of the cases you have to keep it very generic so that it can be in future like if something shuts down or something new comes up, you can easily turn over and use the existing interfaces to like, provide new sort of information. So as in like you are over here, so say I wanna find nearby hospitals over here. So a user went in and just tap in, gave in some information, and this is what happens when your bot breaks. So this is a bot break scenario. So some internal disclosure. So this nearby is running like it is only bot based channel. It doesn't have any human agent sitting over there to handle your request. So some weird thing has happened because I was messing around with the app. So that's why the message format which I have sent in the more nearby hospital, which is not visible on the viewer, that caused the bot break. And this is like a fallback scenario, right? Which you can implement in your apps. I mean, there are some cases, some scenarios where the natural language input by the user won't be understandable to your bot. No matter how deep you think about your chat flows, how deep you think about various different scenarios, how would you handle it? There will be some scenarios where the bot will pick. So you have to gracefully handle those scenarios. These are very generic message where the bot doesn't understand something, he just makes what he doesn't. Okay, so now continuing over with our nearby demo. So he was here, he given given the petrol pump, he wants a request for some petrol pumps. We give an acknowledgement to the user. You all can see an emoji over there. We have something called as emoji framework built out, which we are planning to open source it quite soon. So what basically emoji framework does is being a chat-based interface, it is very important to have your typography of the app to be very like eye friendly. You don't want your fonts to be like 16 points very large or like Times Roman with very thin fonts. You have to be very careful about the typography of your app. You want to use a bold, you want to use emphasis, you want to use emojis wherever applicable, you want to use some icons embedded in the if you this was a Vistara flow and like you could have some Vistara icons or Swiggy icons inbuilt over there, which can show the user and make the content like more interactive. Like, it feels like you're not talking to a machine. It feels like more human in that sense. So and we have something called as emoji framework. And this is a different, very layout that we use a lot to present information. This is what we call as a carousel. A carousel, I mean, you all must have seen a carousel or not, nothing new invention. So, so carousel basically allows you to present, you can provide this information a tab list where it would have been a linear data, but that works well in the flights where like a user is not interested in the flight of pick over here or Mumbai or Bangalore, a generic pick over here. But I'm in a petrol pump thing, or imagine I'm in a food cup. You would want to see what the, some images about the restaurant, some. So you have a very nice image available to you. You have some more data available to you. And for some reason, petrol pumps also have some ratings. So like this is just the interface. This is staging version. So you have some like emojis and like this is basically curated for a food flow. So you have the ratings, you have some additional data about what timings it will be available, and user can directly tap on it and you can directly. This is a very nice interface that user when you tap on one of these things, a user will be directly taken into the map interface. And over here, like, it's very handy for the user. I wanted to ask you, I came into Haptic asking about nearby petrol pumps. I got that. I could see, like, with the map integration thing, you can have like the like you can start your navigation directly if you're on a bike or something. And then you get like, a bot designer always thinks you always want to provide something called as more options or like cancel the flow or you want to provide more suggestions. The earlier demos that we saw wherein you had a lot of options available over here. But over here only one single option, which is like a user manually entering a show me something more, show me something else. It is a lot better that you provide a quick replies to him and he just taps on it. The quick replies have a very nice smooth motion wherein the user feels the tapping of it and like it just morphs into, if you see the animation, it just morphs into a normal message. So we got a more options and like with this kind of like small motion that you do it, I mean it's not very difficult to do this, but this is a small motion or animation that like a lot of designers out there keep on talking about. You need to like instead of providing like back buttons or providing like escape routes in your apps having like explicit bloated buttons, you provide while switching between interfaces or while switching between performing different tasks, you provide a like linear path to it. Okay, this was the way I went in, so this was the way I can come out. So like with this small animation, the user gets a very nice view. Okay, so when the next time like, you could imagine, I'm like a lot of you must have app developers must have known like when making a new feature, a lot of people ask you to make a tutorial for it, make a tutorial how to use this app. But I don't buy into that opinion. Like you are not like users are not that dumb nowadays. They require tutorials for everything. You have this nice animation kind of thing. He will understand in the first go only. Okay, this is what is happening. You will reduce your overhead of making a tutorial every time. Okay, so I just went in, asked for more options, and like, bot is just going and doing some tasks, and and like, this is an infinite loop. It can keep on going. So you ask for more options, you went into details, game, and like it's nice interface on the maps. You can use that, and like, your original task of going to a petrol pump nearby is done. Like, so, guys, any more questions now? Anything?
You are happy.
Yeah.
You are convincing.
Anything. Yeah. Yeah, it's an internet.
Should I be mentioning it?
Now we can mention the name. I think we have a lot of internal like Mogambo, which there's something called as Teja, which which handles the like which is the analytics portal for how your bot is performing. So publicly API.ai is a very famous tool that is available. So we also had a like not named entity recognition library open source last month. You can use that to do some like, identify what is the intent of a user in this task. You won't get to know okay, I want to do this exact details, but you will kind of get the course intent over what a user wants to do from that's one. Cool. Anything else? So I guess you all like the Haptic app. If you don't, you can always give back. Cool, that's it, guys. Thank you.
Just one thing, did something mention you were having a equipment drive or something?
Oh yeah. So I'm very lazy. We have a recruitment drive going on in this Saturday. So we'll be hiring for these positions. It's basically an kind of your older walk-in drives. It's on Saturday. You gotta get your laptops. You'll have some algorithm with questions given out to you initially. You first have to register. Go on to get haptic.ai/hire drive to register yourself. If you don't register, you won't be allowed over there. And if you find this cool or if you want to contribute to us, you can show it. That's it.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you.